Hello everybody, welcome back to the launch discussion for Jesus Through Medieval Eyes. Chapters 3 and 4 today. I'm at my parents' house. I have fled the dulcet tones of the NFL and of children yelling. It is Sunday, so I wanted to make this little video for you guys, chatting about some of my thoughts behind the scenes of these two chapters of the lover and the knight. So, let's talk about the lover first. I was not looking forward to writing this chapter, and I know you're probably starting to think I say that for every chapter because I said it for the judge too. But it's funny because these two first chapters, content chapters, not the intro, are the chapters that I dreaded based off of the thematic elements the most. And I think this is because the judge has to do, obviously, with something that's rather scary that you have to wrap your mind around, and the lover has been an image fraught with a lot of abuse and a lot of weird interpretations, and also sometimes just really cheesy, like I say in the book. I think of some contemporary Christian music back in the 90s when I was growing up. I also think of imagery that was told to me, sort of a Jesus is your boyfriend vibe that I received via different ways in like high school, middle school, where you are taught that Jesus is like a prince coming to rescue you on a white horse, and boys weren't taught that, and I just didn't care ever for that kind of imagery. It did not, I was a very devout teenager, but that one didn't do it for me. So the lover presented an interesting conundrum for me. Now, when I started writing about it, I found myself really drawn to how, one, medieval people don't have the same gender expectations as we do today. So it's not that they don't have them, because they definitely do. It's not that they don't believe in gender, because they did. But they were just different than ours. It worked differently for good and for bad. And so this image is one that Jesus as a bridegroom is for men and women. And it wasn't like the super young woman specific materials that I read as a teenager, like Jesus is your prince, gonna come carry you off on a white horse, whereas boys get Jesus the fishing buddy. But this Jesus, the bridegroom, is for everybody, and everybody is his bride. And obviously nuns and monks and vowed religious, that image means a little extra something special to them, but the image remains true for everybody as well. And so that was something that was delightful and wonderful to take seriously, and to go, well, what does it mean then? When we use bodily language to talk about the love of God, as medieval people took so seriously. I mean, you guys, I cannot overemphasize to you the power of the Song of Songs in the Middle Ages. I mean, this was the favorite medieval book of the Bible, and that's hardly an exaggeration, especially for monks. And so this image was so popular, and that this bodily imagery was so huge in the Middle Ages, it just really blew my mind, and I had to sit down and think about, what is it about body language that communicates differently to us than purely spiritual language does. So that was the task of this chapter for me, and my wrestle as I was writing it, and there were surprises for me and discoveries along the way. And I had read this Quia Amore Languio poem before, but set within this context, thinking really seriously with it alongside this imagery of Christ as a lover and the big tradition of it, I learned to really fall in love with this poem. I think that poem is probably my favorite part of this chapter. So I really hope you enjoy that. Now, the knight. This is fun. This is a fun one. This is one of the chapters that I pitched this book with, because I knew that it's a chapter that immediately draws people's curiosity. Because not only is it a strange image for Jesus, I mean, the judge and the lover both have immediate reactions, but we know that they're scriptural in their origin. So they aren't as strange feeling. The knight, though, we go, what does that mean? That's so weird. Especially, he can't be like a knight who kills people. He laid down his life on the cross. So what is the kind of knighthood and the kind of masculinity that we see in this image? And I think Pierce Plowman, that wonderful long allegory by William Langland, is just the most delightful place to dig into this imagery of Christ riding in barefoot on a donkey on Palm Sunday, and he's this totally new kind of knight. And I love the kinds of imagery of fortitude and courage and perseverance that this idea of Christ as a knight draws out in the poetry and in its imagery. So I hope you enjoyed that chapter too. I was really happy that my editor let me keep that giant quote from Lord of the Rings in it. I'm a huge Tolkien fan, and I hope that you were tickled by that imagery of the men of Rohan charging and scattering the armies of darkness, because that moment gives me chills, whether it's in the books or the movie. So anyways, that's my nerdery for the day. That chapter was a delight to write, and I even got to include perhaps my favorite medieval poem, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, but I have too many favorites. So one of my favorites, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. So again, if you're interested in reading medieval poetry, that's a really good one. And there's a really great translation that I have in the footnotes if you are curious. And speaking of, Tolkien does a wonderful translation as well. So those are some more paths for you if this really piqued your curiosity about medieval knighthood and critiques of it and wrestling and grappling with it. There's a lot of fun things out there. So I hope you guys enjoyed these 2 chapters. I'd love to chat with you in the discussion section on the Substack. I really hope you're enjoying the book so far. I'm glad you're here.